welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica. Along with me, we have Mac Wade, who is the Executive Director with the Port of Morgan City. Every time you come here, we have lots to talk about, and it seems like it's ever changing, which is a good thing.
That's a
because
good
when
thing.
it's changing for the better. But one of the things I definitely want to just jump right into, $30 million worth of improvements are actually underway at the dock
Yes.
at the Port of Morgan City. East Dock, near completion.
The East Dock, we're going to start there. The East Dock, we are about 98%
Okay.
finished with this project. The East Dock is a $6.5 million investment that the port's made. And I don't want to just say the port, we got the state was involved in that with us. The state of Louisiana gave us money for that, and the Port of Morgan City. We put $6.5 million has been invested. We're in the final punch list.
Okay.
We will have substantial completion probably by next week, and the dock will be turned over to the port. So that's our East Dock that
Now
we
I
have going.
saw the during a lot of the phase.
The different construction phase, yes.
Right. So you were building up.
Yes.
It was actually one of the highest spots, but even more so because we kind of had an issue back in, was it 2011, when the water went really high, right? So now we're up a little higher.
We're 10 foot above sea level. We have the highest dock in the area.
Okay.
I'm not saying something can't happen, but the dock is 10 foot elevation. It's a concrete pile system. $6.5 million was just spent on finishing the entire East Dock. It's next to our regional dock, but we had a pier out on it for years and years, and now we've come back in and closed where we had the pier all the way back up to the levee, onto the toe of the levee that we were allowed to go to. And that's we added probably about another 2 acres of lay down. When we finish everything at the port, we're gonna have over 8 acres of lay down area.
Now I mentioned 30 million. You said that's
Yes.
only 6, but the
That's
East Dock
six.
is smaller, correct?
$6.5 million.
Okay.
Forget about that number now. That money's been spent.
Right.
We're finishing up paying the contractor off. That's $6.5 million. We are going through engineering and design right now.
Okay.
Our East Dock is 800 foot long. Our West Dock, and we purchased 2 pieces of property about 2 years ago for the West Dock. We own all that. That East Dock, we're gonna go from 800 foot with the east. When we finish the West Dock, we're adding 1,100 foot to it. We're gonna be right at 1,900 foot of waterfront along the GIWW right there.
And that right now, the West Dock is much of that is still land, vegetation. Like it's, you haven't even. There's nothing there.
In fact, we can't do anything. The port has spent over $1 million on the property that we purchased, and we're going through engineering, design,
Gotcha.
and mitigation. We have to mitigate a little piece of it's a wetlands, but we have to get all the engineering design, and there's a permit, it's called the NEPA it's the NEPA permit. That's one with the EPA. We have to go through, it's about a year-long process. We should be getting the NEPA permit in our hands by the end of this month. We will remit that over to MARAD, the Maritime Administration. That $30 million, 15 of it's coming from the state of Louisiana, out of Port Priority Program. And the port was putting up $3 million. I had $18 million. Well, I was told in the beginning the project's going to cost you $30. Man, I'm kind of short. I got $18 million. And we applied for a MARAD grant, and MARAD, the Maritime Administration, gave us $10 million. So I've gone from 18, now I'm at 28, and then we received another capital outlay money, $2 million from capital outlay. So we got $30 million. All that money's sitting there. We have not put one shovel or anything into the ground because you've got to get all your permits in place, but of course permits cost us money, so we've spent a lot of money. But the NEPA process, we have to get that. Once we get that turned in and they approve it, then I can go out for bid and construction.
Well, and that's great. I think it's good because we want that expansion, right?
Yes.
But for folks at home, because look, I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
What is that dock space going to be used for?
That
Just
dock
in-
space, good questions. Now, we haven't got to it yet, but dredging, we didn't have a channel. We didn't have a channel here. That dock space is going to bring traffic ships
Yes.
coming in to the dock. Well, Mac, why haven't you been doing it? I haven't done it since 2015 when Land O'Lakes came in. I had a channel.
Now, who asking the questions here? You or me?
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
playing,
yeah,
though.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was a good question, though.
But
Yes.
we have not had the channel.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
We have got a channel, and we'll talk about that when we
Yes,
come back and
that's
everything.
right.
But yeah, but no, there's opportunities for us now.
Oh,
I've got
good.
water. I've got
Wait.
20 foot of water.
Well, you heard the man. We'll talk about that when we get back. So come on back right here on the Voice of the Coast after our commercial break. This is a one-man band. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Let's get right back into it because we have East Dock, West Dock expansion project hasn't started just yet, but East Dock is almost done.
Finished.
Before we went out, you said, well, I was like, you asked the question.
Yeah, yeah.
Why haven't we had the business?
Yeah.
Well, now with that, we'll have more business coming in. And look, you guys have hand over fist money. I mean, you've got money flowing. I remember in the beginning when I got here, I mean, you would dredge one project, dredge the basin 1 month, and a couple of months later, it's filled back in. I'm like, wait a minute, I may not be the best at, but I know money. And you guys are just throwing away money. But now it seems like it's just flowing. It's just flowing. It really is. I mean, you have so many dredging projects right now. I think at one time you had 4.
We had 6 2 weeks ago. I'm down to 4 now. We had 6
I had never
dredges
heard of
running.
6.
I couldn't count that high. I didn't think there were 6 dredges in the world.
Right.
But you are right. We have got a channel. And people that say, oh, they don't have it, you get stuck. Yes, you do get stuck in the Chaffalaya River if you're out of the channel. There's charts that come out constantly. They're constantly updated. People say, well, the buoys move. They get knocked out of the way all the time. You don't run by the buoys. You go by what the charts say. Yeah. Those charts are accurate. We've got 20 foot of water. That's at my shallowest spot.
What?
We're only authorized. The government says you're allowed to be 400 foot wide.
That's right.
And you're allowed to be 20 foot deep. I'm 22 to 23 foot deep.
Look
Well,
at you
Mac,
bragging.
you said
Look
you're
at
only
you.
20. You're right. I can only advertise the 20 foot, but right now our channel's running 22 to 23 foot. When they come dredge you, they go ahead and they call that 2 foot maintenance and 2 foot variance. They give me 24 because they know by the time we get back, you're going to have some shoaling and get you back to. But I stay at my 20.
Right.
My worst day's at 20.
I remember your worst days.
Oh,
were
my worst
at
day was at 10
16,
foot. Oh,
13.
yeah. We had
So
a mud
this is
hole out
great.
there.
Okay, and that takes me to Bryce because
Yes.
Bryce, I must say, was kind of the savior. And it was a mixed bag on Bryce coming in, and they've been here 4 years, and now they've just re-upped
They
their
going
contract.
on. Yes, Danica. They started in January of 2020. In a few more weeks, they will be here for 4 years. It took 2 years before that. And it was Bryce that started when we saw what was happening out there with this machine, because I still had a horrible channel. But it was always, I can't get through the bar channel to get to the river. It didn't matter if my river was plugged anyway, but you got to get, that's the mouth of it. If you can't open it, and you could see Bryce getting better and better. And I mean, it was grueling. They should have quit, I should have quit, the Corps should have quit, but we kept persevering and working through the issues, and nobody gave up, and now they got that channel where the mud's at. They work 24/7. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have to be there to keep that channel, because we learned years ago, we'd go dredge the bar channel, we'd spend $14 million dredge a bar channel. It loses 3 foot a month when you stop dredging.
That's
so,
right.
you know, you
Yes.
say, well, Mac, what happened?
Yes.
You were all bragging you had I did.
Y'all were just throwing away money.
But Mother Nature keeps pumping sediment down every day off the Mississippi.
But let's talk about Mother Nature and let's talk about Foley Island. Okay.
Danica and I, you know, I was telling you during the break, and I'm going to tell you, Foley Island was developed about 2.5 years ago, but it all started being all at once. I'm starting to get more money. The thing why we started getting more money, Mike, your bar channel's starting to open. You're getting some draft in there. We got out there and we only had 10 foot of water. We're at 22, 23 foot of water today. I'm not 400 foot wide, I'm only 275, but we're opening on up. But that was a start. Now, if you got, why I continue to open up the bar channel and my top's closed, well, we're fixing to open you up. And that's where they started, when they brought in the California, they started pumping at Crew Boat Cut, Foley Island. So then, now what you're gonna do, Corey, you've got to keep me dredged down below. You got to do something with Bryce, and you got to keep me a cutter head up here, and that's what they've done. Awesome. It's been fantastic. It's been fantastic for us.
I'm loving it. I love to be a part of history. Ain't that something? All right. I just threw myself in there. All right, come on back. We've got much more to cover on KWBJ, the voice of the coast.
In fact,
Welcome back. We're now in our third segment. This is how time flies. I never thought talking about dredging in water would get me this excited. But back on Foley Island, just because I want to make sure that we're clear, with Foley Island, the creation of that island, it's like a barrier island.
Yes.
So it has allowed the water to flow, so it doesn't, and then of course you're still able to feed it, make it more compact. It's grown up with so much vegetation and bird life, so that water is able to flow. So you know you're dredging, but it's flowing.
it's flowing. It's keeping it channelized.
Like scouring
Yes,
it,
help
you know.
scouring, self-scouring itself.
Right.
Yes.
So it helps with opening that channel up, keeping it flowing,
Yes.
keeping it, the authorized depth. So it's been really
Danica,
good for the environment, for us,
The Great
people,
Lakes,
property.
Texas is, that's the name of the dredge. It's dredging at Foley Island right now. It's dredging it. It's working its way down towards the bar channel. And we got our 20 plus foot in there. It has narrowed up since last year at Crew Boat Cut because we hadn't dredged in a year. But we still had our 20-something foot. That's how good our channel is staying channelized like it should be. But Foley Island, where it was just a wide area, we brought Foley Island out from the regional bank at least 1/4 mile along there that runs for over 2 to 3 miles along the river. And like you say, it keeps the water flowing, and it helps self-scouring, moving it along.
And that in turn has brought in more business. I mean, we've got government contracts, military contracts, and I'm telling you this because I was there. I went on the boat ride.
Yep.
It's full.
Yes.
Thankfully, because
You saw it with your own eyes.
I saw it with my own
Yes.
eyes because I think my question at one time used to be, hey, we had Land O'Lakes, this big old contract. Now I'm like, nothing against Land O'Lakes, but Land O'Lakes who?
Yeah.
Because we have so many other projects
That's
that
right.
that are in the works, which is adding commerce. Because I always say that waterway, that's what we need to be touting on. That's what we need to.
That's the key to this area.
It has to be.
Danica,
We got to rely on something else besides what we've been trying to rely on.
Our channel is completely open. Somebody called me the other day, a shipping company, and said they ran aground. I'm not saying you couldn't run aground, but I said, send me the information. I went in Cindy's office. I want you to look this boat up. It's got an AIS system. We track all that. I can tell you any boat that's traveled here in the last 6 months, last year, 2 years ago. I can tell you where it went, where it came from. Did he make a right turn, left turn? We got all that information.
Okay.
Come to find out, we get all the coordinates on it. Cindy punches it in. Did it run aground? Damn, at Crew Boat Cut. Mac, you've been bragging about Crew Boat Cut.
Okay.
Crew Boat Cut is about 400 foot wide. You were 100 foot out of the channel. He ran aground in 7 foot. I said, if you'd gone further, you'd have run aground in 2 foot. The water was over here. You cut the corner.
Oh, was that close to Horseshoe?
Yeah, right there. But and the company said, you were right. It's pilot error. Yeah.
Oh.
Don't tell me.
Right.
I know we don't have a problem with the channel.
Yeah.
And listen, we had a horrible reputation for years. Boats were running aground. I was dead center of the channel. I was right. Yeah, and that's all true. Not anymore. All this business we've been talking about, all these different government agencies. We got a big LNG project going on that's servicing Plaquemine Parish down there. These companies are all located in one place. They're all located on the waterway.
On our waterway.
On our waterway.
That's right. Get to
yes.
it. St. Mary Parish. That means that's how we're able to get our funding.
That's
correct?
exactly
because
right.
Because all of this is taking place on our waterway, which is why we're getting so much money in order to keep the waterways open.
There's tonnage coming off all that.
Yeah. Now we're going to talk about tonnage.
Okay.
Because if you've been watching this show enough with Mac and I, we've been talking about this.
For years.
Had Miss Cindy Cotrera, who he just mentioned earlier. We've been talking about tonnage report because that in itself also aids in the monies that we get, the funding. Because tonnage report says, okay, you're getting all this, this tonnage, coming in.
Yep.
Then hey, here's the money because you
You're
have it to prove it.
Yep,
That's right.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about that when we get back on our last segment. So come on back right here on the Voice of the Coast.
In the naked.
Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, my guest is Mac Wade, the Executive Director with the Port of Morgan City. So let's get, so we're talked about the contract with Bryce. We've talked about dredging, and that in itself is phenomenal.
Yes.
To have 6 dredges at one time,
yes.
back down to 4, still phenomenal. I think the last time you were here, 4 was like, wow, that's amazing.
That's
I've never
amazing,
heard that.
yes.
Even it was amazing for you, and you've been in this business
Yes.
a lot longer than me. Foley Island, which has really grown up so beautifully with vegetation, with bird life, and EPA came down, even they didn't have anything to say bad about it.
They are shocked
Yes.
at how rich this material is that's flowing down every day.
Yes.
But that material flowing down has been a blessing, but it's also been a curse if you letting it get in the way of navigation.
Right.
We have been able to work with Mother Nature by putting all this material up here, and look how it developed Foley Island.
Right, and Mother Nature kind of started this.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
that you guys have added to it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Mother Nature was already on course. But then let's get to tonnage reports, because
Yes.
of course we're talking about all these projects that are flowing in, which is great. It's wonderful, because that helps, of course, to be able to prove, okay, you got all this work coming in. Here's some more money. Here's some more money to to dole out to you guys to get more dredging work. But you guys haven't talked about tonnage reports in a very long time. Why is that?
Me and Cindy were at a conference this week with Mike on grant writing and everything, but the tonnage people from New Orleans were there. And of course, that's why she came along about the tonnage reports. Tonnage is critical to this area that it's reported. Cindy used to gather that information. The Corps came out with new rules and regulations. We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to take your private information and you say, well, I gave it to Mac. What if we didn't put it in the right place, or what if we lost it, or somebody stole it? So the Corps says only the generator of it, or the shipyard,
okay.
the ship can file that information with us. And that's been going on. But where does tonnage come into play? After all this money we've been receiving, the federal government has a big map of the United States, and they show the Mississippi River, the Chaffalaya, all these waterways. And they're looking at there, well, all these people are begging for money. I'm in there begging for money just like everybody else, my hand's out. And they're saying, well, what return is it for the American taxpayer? I said, I can tell you what return. I had no return a few years back when my channel was plugged up. Y'all wouldn't open me up. Now look at the industries, look at all the business in the area. The Navy's doing work down here. The Army's doing work down here. Major defense contractors are doing work down here, and we got a big LNG plant, and all these places utilize the waterway. And they're turning in their tonnage reports on all the stuff they're building. That allows, then when Washington's looking at, well, Morgan City has We need to give them some
maybe,
money.
Yeah, so maybe they are doing pretty good with the
Yeah,
tonnage reports.
they're doing that.
you know.
Oh, yes.
It's just that you don't have your eyes on it. You must, I guess you would have to check in with
Cindy
with the Corps.
watches it close, and every time she hears of somebody new in the area, we can't make them, but we tell them, we recommend, she gives them the website, whatever they need to do. And they do that because we tell them, the only reason you're here is because of this waterway. If you don't get the tonnage for us, we don't get no money, you won't be here.
Yeah. Quick, let's get into something else that was kind of an issue. What we thought would have been an issue very quickly if we can. Saltwater intrusion. We actually already talked about it. It did turn out to be not a big issue for the East End. I know West End had a little bit of a
Not for the
scare.
Chaffalaya River.
Right.
Now, not too far from here, you go about 15 miles or so, the Jaws over Franklin. I don't know if people realize Franklin's only about 7 miles from the Gulf.
Yeah.
Oh, Mac, you're wrong. No, look on a map. It's 7 miles from the Gulf. We're 20 miles. So did our salt come up? It could a little bit, but we were okay.
You were okay,
That's where the
good.
problems were all on the west side. That's
Awesome.
why the locks had to be closed.
And just like that, we are done. Thanks so much. We'll see you
Danica,
guys.
thank you.
No problem. See you guys next time.